that it's a huge economic impact, but that's not the biggest impact of river hours at this point. The biggest impact is people starting to shift into recognizing and realizing that local communities can become more self-sufficient in every way.
And the soil here is interesting because now, you know, this is all dune stuff, but now we've got this humus building up, holding the sand together. You can still see the sand grains in there. But, so these dunes have been established for a while. So they're totally covered in vegetation. Everything has reached a certain amount of stability. All of these plants combined are sharing the rhizosphere with each other. Their roots are intertwined, and they're contributing different things. These plants root associate either with, probably here it's a fungus, that can actually take nitrogen out of the atmosphere and fix it on their roots. Can actually fix it so that the pine tree can get it. The pine tree in exchange will, through photosynthesis, create sugars and send it down and feed that to the fungus. So they're constantly, there's this interaction going on all the time that is mutually beneficial.
What we're doing is really reinventing the exchange process. We need to mediate exchanges in a different way than we've done before. The debt money system creates money on the basis of interest-bearing debt. It's not debt itself that is at fault. It's the interest component that's attached to the debt. And the interest component does not get created when banks create money on the basis of collateral.
Some people are really Luddite about this, and they think, well, we should be back to gold and silver, and that's a metal, precious metal that doesn't change with time. That's all nonsense in my view, just nonsense. And a lot of earnest, good people devote their lives to trying to prove that somehow the world is going to hell because we have this symbolic money rather than the real thing. I would say don't waste your brain cells on that subject. It doesn't lead anywhere, and it's actually quite reactionary if you think about it.
We have to start thinking about money as an information medium, not as a substantial thing. It has been merely an information medium for a couple of hundred years in most respects. But nonetheless, we've stuck ourselves with the idea that there's only so much money. That's the core of its reality concept. That all there is so many trillion dollars or euros or yen, and what we're doing is juggling them. Comes from you, goes to me, goes to him, goes to her. It's to and fro, and we're juggling with a real thing. Therefore, we are always going to have shortages.
How can we mediate our exchanges without creating a pervasive sense of scarcity? Are paper currencies like river hours really the best way to solve this problem? Or are there other, more effective approaches?
River hours print their currency. And as soon as you print a currency, you have, in fact, in my opinion, created a problem because you've created a limited supply currency, which means there's only so much currency as there are notes in circulation. And then you end up with the same problem you have if you have something like a currency backed by gold, which is there's only so much gold. A mutual credit system, there's unlimited currency available in potential, and that's one of its great strengths.
In a mutual credit system, each person has an account. And at some times your account may be positive, at other times your account may be negative. Now, it's this allowance for a negative balance that is the fundamental feature of a credit clearing system. This negative balance represents credit that's been extended to you by the rest of the community.
My name is Francis Ailey. I'm the president of Fourth Corner Exchange. We are a mutual time exchange, mutual credit exchange system. We have over, as of today, 650 members, and about 400 of those are in Bellingham.
I'm Jean Brecken. I offer reading out loud, singing, playing the piano. word processing, writing, and office work.
Hi, I'm Lynette Allen, and I'm offering websites, design and development.
One of my favorites is I have this great apple tree, so I have a lot of apples that I have sold for time dollars and changed a 4-year-old's concept of where apples come from. They don't come from the store, they come from a tree, and Grandma was very happy that he learned that.
In a case of mutual credit systems, the rule is, the game is, I do something for you, I get a credit, you have a debit. The sum of our two is 0. So, in other words, net, we've done nothing. But I have a credit and you have a debit.
I, as a seller, may allocate to you some good or service that you need at the time. I get a credit to my account, you get a debit to your account. Your debit means that you owe something to the community of traders in our credit clearing circle. My credit balance means that the circle owes something to me.
I've really been enjoying a lot of things. Chicken soup from my friend Mary Stanton. I buy the chickens and she makes the soup. It's wonderful.
When, with my credits, I can go and get the cookies of my neighbor, and you can work in her garden to pay for your debit. We've created a currency between the 4 of us. Try that to do with dollars. It doesn't work that way, does it? I need to go and borrow it, or I need to earn it, competing with everybody else to get it. Okay? In this game, we created ourselves.
In a mutual credit system, everyone has an account. This account can go positive and it can go negative. When Bob repairs Andrew's hotel, Bob receives a credit and Andrew receives a debit. Bob can then use that credit to buy catering from Christine. Andrew works off his debit by providing lodging for Daniel. When Daniel does dental work for Christine, the credit and debit are cleared. No hard cash was needed, and everyone gained something in the transaction.
It's like this network. It provides more security for me, just knowing that I'm part of Worth Corn Exchange. And for instance, during the winter, part of my fence blew down in a storm, and I was able to find somebody, a carpenter, who came up all the way from Mount Vernon and put that fence up for me within a few days.
Over the long run, we expect that each person is going to put in as much as they take out and take out as much as they put in. But we allow these temporary imbalances in order to facilitate this exchange process. This is the fundamental function of money.
As more people join the mutual credit clearing circle, this process can become more dynamic. Ultimately, no matter how big the circle gets, the value people contribute should remain equal to the value they take out.
This is money created not by a hierarchy, but is a medium of exchange that's created between us. Okay? We create the medium of exchange. Second, there's no interest. Okay? Third, it's not scarce.
When you start trading in fourth corner exchange, many people talk about experiencing shift in consciousness. There's not a scarcity of that currency, so there's much less competition. So you end up with a completely different experience, and people talk about how cooperative, supportive. People are really concerned about your well-being.
So the primary distinction between money that is tight, scarce, limited, comes from them, and money that is free, available, sufficient, and comes from us, is that with one, we are in fear and greed and competition, and with the other, we behave like sensible human beings. We are more generous, we're more comfortable, we're more giving, we're more willing to receive.
It's made me a lot more willing to share my home, open up my space. I'm not as afraid of people as I once was.
I think that this organization has the potential of making things really livable as time gets harder in the future, not only in terms of the goods and services, but in terms of the connections in the community.
Community needs to become our safety net, I believe, the way the economy is going. You know, I only thought that everything I did, I'd have to,
pay out of my pocket for some way. So now I realize I have these options. So I kind of see it as a relationship-based consumption.
There are literally thousands of grassroots, person-to-person networks like Fourth Corner Exchange all over the world. However, the concept of mutual credit is not limited to the grassroots. Mutual credit has also been successfully applied in mainstream business. The commercial barter industry now oversees $30 billion a year in trade. 240,000 businesses in the US alone participate in a barter system. These networks use mutual credit to help businesses make better use of their capacity while saving on their cash expenditures.
Well, my name's Dave Wallach. Been involved in the commercial barter business as a member since 1972. I started my own enterprise in 1979. A company called American Trade Association here in the Bay Area. Well, it's actually a process. It's a business process. Simply put, it makes saleable what is unsold, wasted, and ignored in our economy.
But in my opinion, there's always an empty table in a restaurant, just like there's always an empty room in a hotel, so you need to fill it. And if you fill it by trade, I look at it just like, it was cash, because you're going to order a nice dinner, a nice bottle of wine, and I'm going to spend that. Just if, if it was a good ad somewhere, or a taxi top, or whatever it was. John's Grill became famous when it was a setting in the novel by Dashiell Hammett, which was The Maltese Falcon. So John's Grill has been in business since 1908.
My name is Kaz. That's my nickname. My real name is Richard Kazmaier. I've been in the wine business about 20 years. I was the first organic grower of grapes up here in Sonoma Valley. And we're in the town of Kenwood. And I've been using barter for almost 15 years.
Excess capacity in business, simply put, is business that they could do but are not doing. One example would be like a printer. And his capacities are press time. So he's got these presses that he's paid a lot of money for. They're sitting on the floor, and they're running half the time. He's making a profit.